Rolling. All right. This is it. Folks, welcome to our daily power Parsha. This is where we study the Torah in a quick 15-minute power bite. I don't know what power bite is, but I figured it sounds good for what we're doing here today. It's great to see you all. With this whole quarantine, Mishagas, I mean, this whole, not Mishagas, but it's like the whole, it is crazy what's going on. Necessary, but still crazy. It's really cool to be able to still see y'all and kind of in some way, be there together in this group setting. So we're going to look at a few different insights into I'm reading the chats into, hey Karen, even though your audio is not working, I'm getting you. So a few insights into the Torah reading. I want to start with an insight into the second of the double portion this week, which is Pekudei. So there's Vayak'hel-Pekudei, and I mentioned a few days ago about the convergence of this paradox of community and individuality, but we're not going to go there today. I just want to mention one thing. Pekudei is all about Moshe's accounting, the audit of the items that he donated to the tabernacle, which tells us a very important lesson. Moshe made sure, hey Sandy, good to see you. Moshe made sure that when he got resources for the Mishkan, for the tabernacle, he went ahead and he audited himself and everything, accounting for every ounce of gold and silver and copper and every single material that was donated. And he was completely transparent. And the commentaries point out that this shows us a lesson. This is a lesson. This models for us how important it is to always be transparent, especially when one is in a position of leadership, or one is in a position of authority, or one is in a position of holding communal funds. It's really important to always be transparent, and not because so let's say Moses, it's not like he was even suspected of misappropriating the donations. Like, who would suspect Moses? Well, there's always one that would suspect, but aside from that, like, who would suspect Moses? The point is not really about, whether that accusation would be justified or not. Of course, it wouldn't be justified, and maybe it would never happen. But the point is about somebody being proactive and preemptively being above board and being transparent. It's a very important lesson in life, and that is the extent that we should even anticipate the potential challenges, potential problems, potential misunderstandings, and try to address them, nip them in the bud, whatever it is, and make sure they don't become a problem and they don't evolve or devolve into a negative. So we can be proactive and we can make sure these things don't happen. Okay, let's move on into the insight that I want to share, the next insight that I want to share. And that is, so to do this, I'm going to share a screen. Okay. Sharing the screen. You guys should see this in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. You guys see the screen? Head nods or yeses? Okay.
Yes.
Here we have. This is today's reading. So if you see, it says Torah reading for Vayak'hel-Pekudei. This is reading number 6 of the double portion, which is corresponding to Friday. So this is today's reading. And if you look, this is Exodus chapter 39, starting from verse 22. And it talks about, at the top of this reading, today's reading, it talks about the robe of the priest. The robe of the priest. And this is the high priest. And it says that his robe was made out of, this is kind of cool, made out of, the ephod was made out of completely blue wool. So kind of cool, kind of a good look. He must have been like a summer or spring palette, I'm assuming. Don't ask me how I know these things. It's irrelevant. It doesn't matter. Let's move on. So he had a blue wool robe situation called the ephod. And if you look at verse number 24, it says they made on the bottom hem of the robe pomegranates of blue, purple, and crimson wool that were twisted, like different shapes, decorative little dangling shapes. And then verse 25, they made bells of pure gold. And they placed the bells in the pomegranates or next to the pomegranates, all around the bottom hem of the robe, in the midst of the pomegranates. So what we have here, according to some commentaries, is an alternating pomegranate bell situation, and that's how they rolled. That's how the thing was, the ephod was designed. As I've said multiple times, on Shabbat, in shul, at Chabad in town, at the Torah reading, I've talked about the notion of bell bottoms. And the Rebbe asked the question, why did the high priest have bells on the bottom of his robe? Is it because they wanted to make sure they knew where he was at all times? Oh no, the high priest is sneaking out. Quickly, I hear the bells, headed off into Jerusalem, into the market. So the Rebbe explains, there are different insights, but I want to share with you one insight that the Rebbe shared, and that is the notion of making noise when we do good things, when we do holy things. The world makes so much noise about negativity. You and I should learn the lesson of the robe and make noise about holy things, about special things, about sacred things. Very simply, what makes the news is oftentimes all the negative stuff. What we should put out there is the good deeds, the mitzvahs that are happening, the connections, the help that we're helping each other, whatever it is at this time or other times. Let's make noise about the good stuff, and not only should we hear noise about the negative stuff. So that's regarding bell bottoms. The summary of the point is, do good deeds, make a lot of noise. By the way, I think one of the silver linings in this cloud, and it certainly is a cloud upon all of us, one of the silver linings is, at least I could say for me, is kind of leveraging and utilizing different technologies that have been around that we've never utilized before. Like right now, we're having a Torah class on a Friday noontime, which frankly would not be really feasible, at least certainly for me, to meet in person. And who would really drive out for 15 minutes? I mean, it's kind of a difficult thing to meet in person. But here we have an opportunity to meet. You can do it on your cell phone, on a laptop, on an iPad, whatever device you're on. You can even call in and listen. Here we have the opportunity to get together and study with technology. So here we're using technology for amazing, and really, I'm shouting it from the roof. Huh? I froze. It's like if I'm doing the robot dance and I'm like,
and then you freeze.
That's my robot dance. It's not a robot dance, but it could be a robot dance. If given the right context. So again, the moral of the story is let's do good things and let's go big. Let's publicize on Facebook all the classes and study opportunities and wonderful things that we're doing. Let's get the word out there. Let's make noise. Let's get the bells going on the hem of the high priest. Now, let's move on. The next idea that I wanted to share with you is regarding the forehead plate of the high priest. We spoke about this extensively Wednesday night. I want to share with you a different insight today. Take a look at verse 30, and you can see when I highlighted that right now on the screen, right?
Yes.
You can see that it turns blue or whatever it is. Okay. Yeah. So verse 30 talks about how the crafts folks that made all the stuff for the tabernacle, for the Mishkan, how they made the tzitz, the forehead plate for the high priest. Verse 30, and they made the show plate, the holy crown of pure gold, and they inscribed upon it an inscription like the engravings of a seal. Not that type of seal.
Yeah.
Kodesh Lashem, holy to the Lord. So, forehead plate, the commentaries point out something really interesting, and that is, what's the meaning of the forehead plate? The forehead is symbolic of arrogance. In the Jewish tradition, the forehead is the symbol of haughtiness. You know, somebody who's haughty, who's feeling very proud, will lift their head up high, and their forehead will be, I don't know, tilted up, I guess, with the rest of their head. But the forehead is a symbol of arrogance. But it's also a symbol of stubbornness. You know, when somebody when somebody encounters a challenge and they really are dedicated to seeing it through, and they put their mind to it and put all their effort into accomplishing it. So oftentimes, like their wrinkles or something, like the forehead, I'm trying to get the forehead. It's not working out for me. Let me think. Let me get into Termin. I'm going like this. I don't know if that's
furrow. It's called furrowing your brow.
Oh, furrowing?
When you furrow your brow.
Furrowing.
Furrow your brow.
Yeah, furrow the brow.
You're making wrinkles.
You're making wrinkles.
It's
All
not
right,
good.
so-
You're making wrinkles.
Yeah, who would have thought? So yeah, the furrow of the brow is associated with the notion of stubbornness. There's evil stubbornness and holy stubbornness, Batman. The evil stubbornness is when somebody's persistent, of course, in negativity, and that's not a good thing. But then there's holy stubbornness, and that is when the world is shutting down and there's Torah to teach. This is not about me. I'm just saying in general, right? It's about finding a way. It's about seeing a way to make things happen, a way to teach Torah, a way to get together as community, a way to spread good messages and positive messages of light and messages of hope and inspiration as opposed to desperation and doom. It's about finding a way even when it's difficult, even when it might not be so easy. And so the moral of the story for us is, so the lesson of the forehead plate of the high priest is, be determined in a good way to see good things through. All right, that's that insight. Let's move on. Ooh, this is a good one. Oh, not that the other one wasn't good. Just saying. Here we go. Now I'm skipping because tomorrow is Shabbat and we're not doing a live stream on Shabbat and we're not getting together. At least, Shiach should come and we should get together. But otherwise, we're going to be each on our own. So I want to share with you an insight from tomorrow's reading, the 7th reading. Okay, this is verse number 7. Take a look at verse 7. 7 is the verse, and here we go. You see that?
Yes.
You shall place the washstand. Ooh, wow, how timely also. Okay, I'll talk about that in a second. You shall place the washstand between the tent of meeting and the altar, and there you shall put water. Before the priest, not only the high priest, but any of the priests served in the temple, in the tabernacle, they had to wash their hands and feet. So this was not only basic hygiene on a physical level, but this was also spiritually hygienic. This was a way to purify symbolically and spiritually and physically, to purify themselves before engaging in the service. In fact, we mirror this today, all puns intended, as you'll see in a moment. In our meals, when we eat bread, before we eat bread, we wash our hands. And that is a throwback, a callback to what the priest did. Because when we eat a meal, it's also a higher experience. It's meant to be a higher experience. Just like the sacrifices were offered to God on the altar, our tables are an altar, and the food that we eat can be an offering that we lift up to God, that we're not just eating it to satisfy our hunger, but we're also eating it for a higher purpose, i.e. to get energy to then do good things. But bring it back to the wash basin. Before we engage in service, we wash our hands, and that is a cleansing experience, and it's a preparatory experience. What did the washstand look like? I'm glad you asked. It was made out of copper mirrors. They didn't have glass mirrors, I think, back in the day. It seems they had mirrors made out of copper, like a shiny piece of copper that was reflective. And everyone was like, wow, I guess this is sepia.
Oh.
Where did the mirrors come from? The copper mirrors. So our sages tell us
watercolors.
Good. Well done. Well done. So the short version of the story is the copper mirrors that were donated for the kiyar, for this wash basin, were donated by the Jewish women. And which mirrors were they? They were the mirrors that the women in Egypt would adorn themselves, would use to whatever, to make themselves look beautiful. When Moshe got the donation of the mirrors, Moshe's first inclination was sapasnisht. It's not nice. I mean, it's a vanity thing, but it doesn't belong in God's temple, right? They're donating the mirrors. They gave away their mirrors, which is an act of, devotion and dedication, and it's a nice thought. But Moshe's first thought, Moses' first inclination was not to use it. It doesn't fit the sanctity of the space. And God said to him, "Are you kidding me? These are the holiest of them all." Why? Because in Egypt, when the men were working all day and being enslaved with harsh labor, and they would come home and they would be too tired, their wives, it says this in the Midrash, I'm going to speak in a way of kind of euphemistically, but I'm sure you'll get what I'm saying. Their wives would adorn themselves in the mirrors and start speaking playfully to them. And with that, the Midrash says, another generation of Jews was born. Are you with me on the euphemism? Yes?
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
Okay. In other words, when the men were ready to whatever, that's it. The women made sure that another generation would be born even amidst slavery. And so God says these mirrors are the holiest contribution because they represent the dedication to raising and bring into the world another generation of Jewish people. And you should know that this is a message, not just about the mirrors, but a message for our lives. And that is sometimes, we look at something and we judge it. Like Moshe looked at the mirrors and judged it. It's not good. It's physical, it's materialistic, it's sensual, whatever it is. It's not holy. And God taught Moses a lesson, and God teaches us a lesson. Don't judge a mirror by its cover. Don't judge a thing by your first gut reaction. These are holy because they were used for a holy purpose. And this is a truth in life in general. Anything, almost everything, unless it's absolute evil as defined by Torah. Torah tells us things that we should just totally stay away from. But otherwise, most things in this world are in the category of klipas noga or klipat noga, the neutral shell, which means you could use it for negative or positive. In this case, the Jewish women used the mirrors for an incredible mitzvah, for an incredible good deed. And this is what made them so special and holy. And before any of the services took place, no matter what it was in the temple, before you showed up for temple work, the first thing you did was you walked over, as a priest, you walked over to the wash basin and you washed your hands. And the message is the preparation for service, the very ABC or 1, 2, 3. ABC, 1, 2, 3. The very basic bread and butter of the service is these mirrors. Transforming something into the positive, but also the message, which I think is very important, is don't be so quick to judge. We're so quick to first reaction video, first take, it may not be accurate. It may not be true. Look a little bit deeper. There's something beautiful here. And also about the idea that every physical thing can have a spiritual meaning to it. It doesn't only have to be about the physical experience. There's also a higher experience that we can connect with. I think we're at the time. There was one more thing that I wanted to share with you.
Rabbi, what is Mishkan?
Mishkan is tabernacle.
Tabernacle, okay.
Tabernacle. It's the portable sanctuary. Before they built the temple of stone in Jerusalem, in the times of Moses, they were traveling. So they needed to build one out of wood that could disassemble and reassemble. Think Lego and then think not plastic. That was the Mishkan.
Okay.
Last point. I know we're over time. My apologies, but it's the eve of Shabbat, and we're off for a day, so we got to do this. The last verse. Oh, and this is the last the last verse of the entire book of Exodus. Actually, let's go back to verse 36. When there was a cloud that rested, a cloud of divine glory. When the cloud rose up from over the Mishkan, from the tabernacle, the children of Israel set out on their journeys. But if the cloud did not rise up, if the cloud stayed on the Mishkan, then the people stayed. In other words, how did they know when to travel, when not to travel? It was by cloud navigation.
That hurt.
GPS.
Cloud GPS.
Positioning system.
Yes.
Right? It was by GPS, God and the cloud. So we were into the cloud way before the rest of the world. Whatever, it's fine. People can, join whenever, but we were there. So the point is like this. It happened with the cloud, and the notion here is that even in our lives, as the Baal Shem Tov, the founder of the Hasidic movement, said, in all of our lives, although we may not be able to see it as clearly with our eyes, we are all guided by the divine navigation, by the cloud. Even when we're not aware, something happens and we find ourselves going here, moving there, taking that job, traveling, whatever it is, then we find a detour and a stop and a layover, whatever it is, wherever we find ourselves, it's by divine providence, by divine design. Never think that whatever this is an accident. It's always intended for the next big thing. And I'll conclude with a story. There was once a gathering, a weekend of inspiration for women in Detroit. And the weekend was marvelous. But on Sunday afternoon, when all the flights were going to take off, there was a massive blizzard that began and all the flights were canceled. And there was panic. This is going back decades. There was panic. The women needed to get home, wives and mothers and whatever it is. People had to get home and back to work, whatever it was. And there was a lot of panic going on. And they wrote a letter. They called in to the Rebbe's office. It was a Chabad related weekend. They called in to 770 to Brooklyn to get a blessing or to get advice, to get guidance, whatever it is. And the organizers basically conveyed the message like everyone's panicking, everyone's upset and distraught. They can't get home. And the Rebbe's message was, obviously, if the entire conference is stuck in Detroit for an extra night, obviously there's something that needs to be done in Detroit that wasn't yet done. You need the collective force of these women to accomplish something, and it wasn't accomplished over the weekend, so they need an extra night. But look at that approach. And obviously that message was conveyed and they went out and whatever it is, they mobilized to do something positive. But what an approach in life. You're never stuck somewhere by accident. You're never just, a mishap, an accident, a cancellation, whatever it is. Yeah, that's on the surface, but on the inside, at its core, it's designed in order for us to do the next positive thing. Build your Mishkan, build your tabernacle wherever you are, because it's always by divine navigation. That's it. Have a good Shabbos. May the cloud be with you or something like that. May you find the blessings and the silver linings and the joys and the comforts and the strength that you and I need to be able to do what we need to do in this situation, which is certainly for its own purpose. And I'm sure we'll find out what that is as things develop. All right. It's wonderful to see you all. Have a good Shabbos. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbos.
One more thing. Very important announcement. Saturday night, we're putting together a Havdalah service, a communal Havdalah service. Stay tuned for Zoom link for the Havdalah service. That's number one. Number two, Sunday morning, Kabbalah and Coffee is happening. Same bad time, same bad channel, 9:30 to 11. We'll have the texts up. We'll schmooze. We'll learn. It's going to be great.
And
so,
it's a different link, right?
Sorry?
A different Zoom link.
Different Zoom link. I'll post all of the links. Yes. Saturday night is different. Sunday's different. It's all different. I'll post the links and stay tuned for more stuff. We have a full slate of classes at least twice a day happening next week as well. So this is it. We'll keep on inspiring each other and connecting. Have a good Shabbos. Take care.
Good Shabbos. Thank you.
Shabbos.
Everyone.
Gonna go and make the kugel now.
Oh, I love that. All right.
Picture. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.